What did I just watch? Clearly, Invincible Season 2 is back. Clearly. Rest in peace, Jerry. He just wanted a snack. We've all been there. We've all missed lunch.
Sorry, Sarge.
For f***'s sake, Jerry, you scared the shit out of me.
All right, friends, I'm here to talk to you about Invincible Season 2, Episode 5, and I could not be more delighted about it. Yes, it has been a minute. It took me a minute because a lot of other things came up, but I'm happy to finally be here to talk to you about this episode because I really just, it was a breath of fresh air, you know? It just really hit me. And the one thing that I really appreciate about Invincible is that I just feel like it pulls me in so much when I'm watching it. I can't look away. I'm consumed by it. And that is my favorite thing about it. I just really love it. It's just great storytelling, in my opinion. Okay, so this episode, what a doozy. A lot happens in this episode. First things first, we got Mark, who is with the Thraxans, who is coming back home. He doesn't want to go back home. He wants to stay there and he wants to help. But turns out he can't help because they want him to go home and take care of his little bro, his little half bro. That is the son of Omni-Man and Andressa. Which I gotta say, Andressa's voice, good lord, the part where she's explaining how, you know, her son, because he ages differently than they do. If he grows up there, everyone will just be dead. So sad. Also, this whole belief of the Thraxans basically being like, we have a shorter lifespan, so therefore, like, we kind of think, like, way further ahead because it just takes us longer to do things, so we don't think, like, oh, this has to be done, like, in our lifetime. And just, it's so interesting how that's so beautiful, and it's, like, literally the opposite of humans, who also don't really live that long. I mean, obviously longer, probably, than the average Thraxan lifespan, but we live for such a short period of time and we struggle so hard to see like into the future. I just loved that little bit where they talk about sort of how it's fine because they're used to having multiple lifespans for them to like do one thing. Like multiple generations are going to have to do that. And I was just like, that's so beautiful. Why can't we be like that? Dang it. So Andressa basically says goodbye to her son and has this beautiful heartfelt moment where she's just talking about how he can't stay there, and even though she loves him, she has to send him away because she's getting old and she's going to die soon. And so he has to go with Mark so he can be among people that are more suited to the type of kid that he is and just how he ages. He has to go with Mark, and just her goodbye made me cry. It was a lot emotionally. I just gotta shout out Rhea Seehorn, who did such an amazing job of voicing Andressa, and I was just like, good lord, you're making me feel emotions. Also, if you don't know Rhea Seehorn, she is from Better Call Saul, Veep, and apparently the Monster High animated show, the new show from 2023. So hey, get that voice work. It's also interesting how after this, when Mark goes home, that's when we get the title card. Ooh, all the trauma is building up, I think, for Mark. He's taken on a lot this season, and that black and blue is coming through. Getting that new costume, probably by the end of the season, I'm thinking, is when we're going to get it. But we'll see. We'll see. It's interesting as well what they're doing with Donald's story in this. So when Mark gets home, we also get a little bit of a shift. We get to see sort of what's been going on with Donald, who has found out recently that he is at least part cybernetic, and he confronts Cecil about it, who reveals that he is mostly cybernetic, apparently, except for his brain. I don't believe Cecil. I don't believe him. I don't think it's true. I don't think they're going to do exactly what they did with him in the comics, but I just don't believe Cecil. I just don't believe him. I think he's a big, fat liar. I called him out. There you go. I don't think anyone should trust him. I don't think Mark should trust him. I don't think Debbie should trust him. Definitely not with this little alien boy. Do not give your brother to Cecil, Mark, which I think Mark already knows that's not happening. But clearly he's got a lot on his plate trying to keep him away. So hopefully that goes well. We've also got, of course, the Sequids coming in from Mars, which I knew this was happening, and I was so excited for this to come to fruition this season, and it is. And I love Shapesmith being revealed as a Martian, and how everyone's like, obviously we knew you were a Martian. Obviously we knew you were a shapeshifter. But this revelation that Shapesmith also just like left an astronaut on the planet Mars, totally knowing that that guy was probably going to get messed up, and also not thinking about the fact that he'd be vulnerable to the Sequids. And I wonder if we're going to get more into like the Sequids and how they were basically forced to, they're basically like enslaved by the Martians, or if we're just going to leave it at that. We kind of talked about it, but we didn't really like get into it. And I feel like that's a thing. It'd be interesting if we get into it more. I don't know if we will though. Clearly we got to fight the Sequids. So of course, who do they call in? Of course they call in Adam Eve. Rex Splode decides he's going to go talk to Eve. And I think that's a wise choice because Eve is clearly like the most powerful hero, I think, that they have at their disposal if she were to come back on the team or join them for this mission, which she does agree to do. And we get this beautiful little heart-to-heart between her and Rex. And it just makes me, like, want more, like, Eve Rex moments, just because I do think they're really, like, sweet together. And, like, even though it didn't work out for them as a couple, I mean, we're going to see some things later on. I'm not going to say anything, but I just really love like them together, and I think they have like such great chemistry. That's what I'm going to say about that. Sorry, I said like a million times, but I do really love their chemistry, and I really want a Rex Splode special. That's what that conversation made me realize, because something I felt like was missing from the Adam Eve special, which I know I didn't do a review of. Let me know if you guys want a review of that. I can go back and do that. I watched it at San Diego Comic-Con, and I was going to film my thoughts on it when I got back after watching it, but I was so exhausted that day. I was in my Adam Eve cosplay all day. I was so wiped, but I do have thoughts about it I'd love to share with you. But one of the things I felt was missing from that special was Eve's relationship with Rex early on, and kind of how they know each other and what they really mean to each other. And I'm kind of hoping that we get like maybe a Rex special and we get to see his origin story, and then maybe we get to find out a little bit more about like Eve and his connection to her. Yeah, I hope we get that. I guess we'll see. It'd be kind of cool if like after each season we just get a new special. I would be down for that. Everyone gets a special. The drama as well, speaking of chemistry and speaking of people that have had romantic relationships, the drama that's happening as well in this episode between Amber and Mark. Amber, please, you really need to talk to Mark about your feelings, because it's very clear to me that Amber does not feel comfortable constantly having to be put second to Mark's heroics, even though I know she really wants to support him and she really does respect that he's a hero. But this girl needs to talk to him about these feelings, because they're building up, and I'm watching it and I'm like, girl, like, this is not okay. Just tell Mark how you're feeling. Like, maybe you guys can figure something out. I don't know. But I think it's because Amber knows that ultimately Mark is going to be a hero first. And so I think she's afraid of bringing it up because she's afraid of losing him. And just the intensity of that relation, it just feels so real. I love so many of the relationships in this because they feel so real for a superhero like series. It's goofy how real that feels to me. Even though Mark is a superhero, and that's Amber's like biggest issue with that, is that he's absent. But at the end of the day, what it's really about is having a partner that doesn't prioritize you in a way that you feel that you would like to be prioritized, or that you feel you need to be prioritized. It's about needs not being met. So they better have this conversation. Otherwise it's going to blow up in their faces. I'm just calling it now. I call it like I see it. And contrary to that, we definitely also see when Eve and Mark reunite, the spark's there. So that's, I think, going to be a problem. Or I mean, well, a problem. Depends on your opinion, I guess. But that's definitely going to be something. Which, if you know the comics, you know what I'm talking about. Eve also is so OP in this fight, and I just want to say I love how powerful they made her in this episode. And yes, fair enough, because she's just so powerful. I love how she can phase. I love phasing. I think phasing is such an underrated power, and I was in awe in the best way, and I love the way that Eve is being portrayed in this season so far, in terms of what she has going on for her personally, and also just in terms of her powers, and how, like, really the thing that gets in her way the most is herself. In a weird way. Yeah, that's life. Also, while we're up in space dealing with the Sequids, it's supposed to be, just watching Earth, just Rex Splode, Shrinking Ray, and Kate. Duplicate. But they get called in, and they gotta go fight the Lizard League, which you would think are not going to be that crazy. But then guess what? They turned out to be pretty crazy. They killed my boy Jerry. Very rude. And the Sarge. Brutally. And then they royally mess up our guardians that are left on Earth, which is really unfortunate. And weirdly, even though we're dealing with space battles, the Lizard League feels more intense. That fight feels more intense in a way that you just don't expect. And that is really what I love about Invincible. It just really plays with your tropes, with you think you know what you're getting. You don't know what you're getting. Case in point, how Shrinking Ray just brutally gets killed here. And one thing is that it is more gruesome, but also kind of more epic, I would say, than in the comics. But it's also a more brutal death, for sure. I think I know what's coming next. But because this is also different, and Robert Kirkman has literally said, like, this is not going to be a one-for-one from the comic, it always makes me nervous anytime something happens, because I don't know where it's going to go. I'm like, I think I know what's about to happen, because I think I know where the rest of the story goes. But do I really? Do I really? We'll have to wait until next episode to find out. And of course, at the very end, we have Alan the alien returning, but now he's super buff because he was brought very close to death because his life support machine was shut off by Thaddeus, who we also find out is, yes, a Viltrumite, which I knew this reveal was coming, but I was not expecting it to be as glorious as it was in that episode. It was so funny. It was so great. And yeah, Alan is basically like a Goku type character where he just gets beat till he becomes like more powerful. That's like how he powers up. So yeah, if you were wondering, oh my gosh, that's like Goku. Yeah, apparently that was actually inspiration, I believe, for Robert Kirkman when he was writing the series for Alan. So Alan is, if he's close to death and he survives, he gets way more powerful. So I just love that reveal. I just love Alan. I love everything. This is so good. I don't have any complaints. This episode was perfect. It made me feel all the things. It made me cry. It made me terrified for people. It made me laugh. I just felt so many emotions, and the storytelling is so good. I'm giving this episode and this return definitely a 10 out of 10. This episode. This is 10 Sequids out of 10 Sequids. I hope you enjoyed this review. I cannot wait to talk to you about the next episode. I'm so excited. Hopefully I'll get that one to you a little sooner. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you want me to go back and watch the Adam Eve special. That's it for this one, friends. I'll see you next time. And until then, stay nerdy.